So Black Adam is... I don't remember the last time I've walked out of a movie feeling so conflicted. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I mean, it's an enjoyable 2 hours and 5 minutes at the movies. I'll say that. I'll start with that. Dwayne Johnson turns in a pretty solid performance as Black Adam. I feel like most of the time you see him in movies today, he's really just playing himself. And this was one of the few times where, at least in recent memory, where I feel like he's actually playing a character. The script is fairly solid. There weren't any points where I was completely taken out of the movie by something that happened. It's shot nicely with, a little bit more effort than just basic coverage. The special effects they're somewhere between the CW shows and the best of Marvel. All that said, it's not an original movie. You've seen this movie before. If you've seen Shazam, you've basically seen this movie. There's a council of wizards that give this guy powers, and then there's another guy that gets the evil version of the powers, and they end up fighting in the big climax of the movie. But don't worry, because they actually steal things out of other movies and franchises to try and keep it interesting. As a matter of fact, the movie opens with a Lord of the Rings style narration, even down to molten metal being poured into a mold to forge a crown of power. It began with the forging of the crown of Sabat. And at first I thought that the filmmakers were trying to make a sort of a visual shortcut to establish to the audience, what was going on by using imagery that we're presumably already familiar with. But then we're introduced to not the Falcon and not Doctor Strange and not Ant-Man. And I just went, no, they're just copying it. Okay. And I know, those are characters from the comics, but come on. And speaking of all those other superheroes, this movie falls into that trap of having someone explain all of the heroes and their powers to the audience. But then 1 minute later, two of those heroes are talking to each other and asking each other about each other's powers and what they can do. And I was like, why not just let them explain? That's so much more compelling having these two interact rather than having someone just look at the audience and say, Cyclone can make tornadoes. Atom Smasher can get big and small. It's one of the movie's problems that keeps it at good but not great. It just has this tendency to over-explain itself. Like, towards the beginning of the film, there's a scene where the lead kid skateboards up to this intergang officer, looks up at him and says, "You are an imperialist colonizer sent here to steal our country, natural resources, and oppress our heritage." There's something that one of my professors said in college that kind of goes along with the whole show don't tell idea. He says, look, you're making a movie. What's special about a movie? Moving pictures, right? So if your plot is reliant on the dialogue, you aren't making use of the medium to its fullest extent. If you're going to just write a bunch of dialogue and convey the story that way, just make a radio drama. The musical choices throughout the film are a little odd as well. During most of Black Adam's fight scenes, rather than having the original orchestral theme or score playing to try and help complement the movie, they just play various rock, pop, rap songs. And it's all non-diegetic, so it's just the director saying, this music feels tough, and I like how it fits with this scene, and basically making a music video rather than building on the story. And so as a result, Black Adam kind of loses his musical identity throughout the movie, because there's not really a consistency in like the orchestral score. There's not really a reason why it's real world music, besides the fact that it sounds cool. And I feel like that was really a missed opportunity there to really firmly establish a musical theme for him, because Black Adam's going to be in this film franchise for who knows how long. I am going to nitpick the editing a little bit, because as an editor, there were some things that jumped out to me. In the second half of the movie, the cuts start to feel a lot jumpier, and there are some points during deep conversations where you can tell that they are cutting out beats of silence that were there on set, because the voice doesn't always sound natural. And that's almost certainly something where someone along the line was watching a cut of the movie and said, nah, I need this scene to go faster. It's one of those things where if the pacing of the conversation isn't right on set, you need to get it right there. where you are rolling the dice if you just say, we'll just fix it in post. Sometimes it can work really well, and other times it can be like what happens in this movie. There's also one bit of ADR in this movie that just... couldn't have gotten a better take of that. The kid is up giving an inspirational speech, as one does, and the sound that you're hearing does not at all match with what you are seeing on screen. It looks like this. We built Kondak with these hands, and we can save it with these hands. Now there comes a point in this movie at the end of the second act where they could do something really interesting with who the villain of the story is, but they end up falling back on a familiar trope, and that was very disappointing, especially with the performance that Dwayne Johnson was giving. Now I know that a lot of it was really nitpicky, and it might start to sound like I didn't enjoy my time at the theater, but I did. It held my attention for most of the 2-hour runtime. If you're just in the mood to be entertained by something that's pretty good and very, very similar to things that you've seen before, then you're gonna have a good time with this movie. If you're wanting to see something new and original though, maybe see something else. Anyway, that is my review of Black Adam. Have you seen the movie? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next reviews.